Texas A&M has given the A-OK for both Texas and Oklahoma to join the SEC. The reasoning behind their change of heart coming up. Plus, at the start of the pandemic, a home builder with an unusual style saw his business boom. And with the recent rise in building material costs, he's only seeing that continue.
And it's pretty easy to pick out where the heat dome is centered. You can see the clouds going in a clockwise fashion across the center part of the country. That's where the hottest conditions are, but it's still pretty toasty here. Will we hit 100? Your 25 news starts right now.
Connecting the Brazos Valley. This is KRHD News.
Hi there, everyone, and thank you for joining us on KRHD News at 6 tonight. The saga continues in the battle between the SEC and Big 12 after Texas A&M's Board of Regents voting to approve Texas and Oklahoma's request to switch conferences. As KRHD News reporter Rachel Espaillat shows us, that change could impact TV contracts and the local economy.
In this single tweet, the SEC announced presidents and chancellors voted unanimously Thursday to extend membership invitations to the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas to join the SEC effective July 1st, 2025. This comes just a day after Texas A&M placed their own vote.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Same sign.
Opposed.
Board of Regents approved Texas and Oklahoma to move from the Big 12 to the SEC in a 3-1 vote.
The motion passes. Thank you.
The two schools announced their desire to leave the league earlier this week.
The TV contracts will only exist as long as the league exists. So if the league fails to exist, the jobs from the TV networks won't exist anymore.
The SEC's most recent television contract with ESPN is set to take effect in 2024, and it's expected to increase revenue distribution to its member schools to about $67 million per year. The network also has a contract with the Big 12, but rights are shared with Fox. Those deals expire in 2025. Since the two teams are expected to leave the Big 12 now, there are only 8 teams left in the league. It gives SEC an opportunity for more revenue and gives ESPN more power. The Big 12 shot back just the other day, submitting a cease and desist letter.
The Big 12 should not go out without a fighting chance.
Yeah. Texas and Oklahoma are expected to begin competition in the SEC in all sports for the 2025-2026 academic year. I'm Rachel Espaillat, KRHD News.
And the Big 12 issuing a cease and desist order to ESPN. In the order, Commissioner Bob Bowlesby says in part, quote, the current business partner of the Big 12 Conference has taken certain actions that are intended to not only harm the conference, but to result in financial benefits for ESPN. Members have entered into contractual obligations under the amended and restated agreement related to the grant to the conference of the rights to televise their athletic events. Going on to say the Big 12 Conference demands that ESPN immediately cease and desist all actions that may harm the conference and its members. There's a new elementary school ready to make its debut in the Brazos Valley, but as KRHD reporter Rebecca Fiedler explains, the school won't just impact elementary students.
For Caldwell Elementary School students, this first day of school will be one they've never experienced before.
These fun, movable, dynamic seating barrels are just one feature of the refurbished and expanded building on Alligator Street. The new elementary school has been through many stages of life. For the past 30 years, it served as the junior high. Now it's completely remodeled and expanded, a finished project from Caldwell ISD's $39 million bond passed in 2018.
Finally being able to move into this space has been so exciting. One of the greatest things is just seeing the look on everyone's face when they walk in and immediately there's a smile.
The bond didn't just go towards creating a new elementary school, though. Caldwell Intermediate students will move into the old elementary school building, which has been refurbished for them. Caldwell Junior High students will move into the former intermediate school building, which has added a locker room, weight room, and band hall. Together, these buildings will provide a new school experience for a majority of the district's kids.
Rocking my way into a new school year, reporting in Caldwell, Rebecca Fiedler, KRHD News.
The Brazos County Health District says COVID-19 cases are going in the wrong direction yet again. Today, it reported 413 active cases of COVID. The current 7-day average is 36 cases per day. Just 2 weeks ago, that 7-day average was 14. Dr. Seth Sullivan says the Delta variant is having an enormous impact.
There have been to date 16 Delta variants reported. Let's be clear, there are many more than that. The vast majority of the cases that we're seeing today are no doubt Delta variant. The only way, though, that we can identify Delta variant is by doing more sophisticated sequencing of the viruses that we identify, and it's a laborious process that takes a while, and so that is certainly an under-reporting of how much Delta variant is present in Brazos County.
The county is now considered an area with high transmission levels. That means the newest CDC recommendations for all people, vaccinated or not, to wear masks indoors in public places. Again, though, that is just a recommendation. In other COVID-19 news, the Texas A&M Health Sciences Center is teaming up with the Texas Department of State Health to award state titles, award state-based entities and organizations supporting local vaccine efforts. A total of $10 million will be awarded. The purpose is to implement vaccine outreach and educational activities to boost the vaccination rate. A&M Health and DSHS want to hear creative solutions from the community and coalition leaders on how to best boost those rates. Those with the best pitches can be awarded anywhere between $50,000 to $150,000.
Neither A&M Health nor DSHS have preconceived notions, even though we have examples of things that they could consider. We have no preconceived notions on what works in your community with your populations. We want to know that from you. You are the experts of your communities, and we look forward to hearing the ideas that would be most impactful for you.
Eligible groups include educational agencies, faith-based organizations, governments, and nonprofit organizations. Coming up, what's happening to President Biden's infrastructure plan?
The U.S. economy has officially recovered to pre-pandemic levels from a data standpoint. Between April and June, the economy grew 6.5%, mostly by American spending. Inflation is starting to slow momentum, and there's concern that gains could be disrupted by the resurgence of the virus. Hiring also continues to pick up while unemployment claims fall. Last week, new benefits applications dropped by 24,000 to 400,000. Now, they're still almost double what they were before the pandemic. Overall, some 13 million people are still getting some sort of unemployment assistance. Worker recovery is not equal. The unemployment rate for some women is rising. For black women, it remains almost twice as high as before the pandemic. In Louisiana, where federal unemployment benefits are set to end soon, women are turning to food pantries and training in new industries to try and keep paying bills.
I don't know if they think this is the new normal with people still being out of work, unemployed, in lines for food. Most of these women who come here are in the hospitality industry.
I get a lot of people talk about it's because everybody's on unemployment, nobody wants to work anymore. But reality is $8, $9, $10, $20 an hour just does not sustain life for a family.
Now take a look right here at your screen. Take a picture if you have your phone on you. These are a list of the organizations that are doing specific work to help women return to the workforce. Some are partnered with major companies looking to hire more women of color. Now, with the new school year right around the corner and some kids going back to in-person for the first time, there is concern that it could bring about a resurgence of nicotine addiction.
We're really glad that kids are going to be in person again, but we don't know whether this will cause a resurgence in e-cigarette use because of peer pressure and being around other kids.
Now, prior to the pandemic, more than 3.5 million kids were using e-cigarettes. That's 1 in 5 high school and 1 in 20 middle school students. Now, when kids left school because of COVID, anti-tobacco groups admit that they're not sure what happened to usage, but with pandemic-induced mental health concerns and return to peer pressure on the horizon, they're worried.
I think it's important to look for signs of some of those stressors because we don't want, youth to resort to coping strategies such as e-cigarettes. They're very enticing.
E-cigarette education is ongoing in the school systems, but having an open line of communication between the school and parents is very important, they say. And they also say that you should know what to look for.
This is a Juul cigarette, an e-cigarette, and if you see one of these, this is the cartridge, and this has as much nicotine as 20 cigarettes, a whole entire pack of cigarettes. So if you see one of these laying around, or something like this, which is a disposable cigarette, this is what your kids are smoking.
The FDA has to decide by early September if it will ban flavored e-cigarettes and menthol cigarettes. Even the government acknowledges these products appeal to young, first-time nicotine users and disproportionately kill people of color. The TSA has reopened self-defense training for airline workers, but not as many people are signing up as expected, even with the increase in unruly passengers. The changes one group wants to see to make sure airline workers are protected.
A Texas-based home builder with an unusual style says business started booming with the pandemic and it is only getting stronger. KRHD News investigator Dennis Turner shows us another housing option you should consider.
Hey, welcome to my home.
After wandering Monolithic Research Park, we ran into Cedric Overton, who lives in probably one of the most nicely decorated domes in the neighborhood. The first thing we wanted to know about is why a dome home?
It was like one of those, I was kind of iffy about it at first, but I came to actually, came to life. I was like, man, this is a great place.
Overton shares his dome home with his family. Is there enough room in here for you?
Oh, yes, sir.
Is this you and a wife and 2 kids?
Yes.
Wife Desiree and children Cayman and Heavenly. He says the hardest thing to get used to was getting domed off from the world. What took the most getting used to?
The used to was, you can't really hear sound outside. Like when it rains, we really won't know until we hear like a little thunder.
Meantime, the Overtons have home improvement projects just like other families, with a big makeover of the kitchen underway.
About to get brand new cabinets in. That's why we took the doors off. Okay. Brand new everything, brand new lights, brand new paint, everything.
To go along with the brand new space-age refrigerator. What's the place you're most proud of?
So far, my living room.
Yeah. The living space has an odd shape, admittedly, but a good size. The Overtons have made it their own with family pictures. Kids' room is small, but there's plenty of room in there for both of them. The bathroom is standard size. There's even room for a stackable washer and dryer. The Overtons seem to have everything they need. In terms of decorating and setting up the house, do you find it's difficult to do that in a house with no corners?
Yes, sir.
So what's the challenge? How do you fix it?
Situating the furniture, you just have to find
the one wall?
Yeah, and go from there.
Most people used to consider the domes quite expensive, but Gary Clark of Monolithic Constructors says high regular construction costs have put the domes on par with regular homes.
If you can look at strictly construction costs, what does it cost to build one of theirs versus one of ours? Ours will be just a little bit more expensive. But that prices are starting to change because of the economy. We're becoming more and more affordable.
In fact, he says if you factor in energy savings, the home can eventually pay for itself. Need more space? Need to expand? No problem. Just add another dome and a little walkway. And with a growing family, Cedric has expansion on his mind, but instead of 2 domes, he plans on a bigger one with an added bonus.
I probably have one built, and this time it'll probably be with a stem wall. Like this is kind of round. The stem wall will come straight up.
You would trade up to that?
Yes, sir. Definitely, most definitely.
Why? Because the curves bother you?
I know, curves don't bother me.
They really shouldn't in a place like this. In Italy, Dennis Turner, 25 News.
Tonight, we are getting a far better idea of what's in that bipartisan infrastructure bill working its way through Congress right now. The Senate voting to begin debate on the bill. It includes $73 billion to upgrade power grids, $50 billion to defend against climate change and cyber attacks, $65 billion to improve internet access, and $55 billion to upgrade water infrastructure. The bill could create an average of 2 million jobs per year for 5 years. The U.S. economy is now bigger than it was before the pandemic. Gross domestic product reaching $19.4 trillion at the end of the second quarter, a 6.5% increase. That's lower than the 8.4% growth many experts had predicted, though. Strong spending drove growth, while inflation in the Delta variant held some of that back. Weekly jobless claims also fell 24,000 last week to 400,000. It's back to school shopping season, and this year is going to be an expensive one. The National Retail Federation expects families of K through 12 students up to seniors in high schools to spend $849 on average. That is $60 more than last year and $152 more than in 2019. A big factor, the cost of electronics. The NRF says more parents plan to buy laptops and smartphones than in years past. And now let's check in with Matt Hines.
And we are looking at a few showers and thunderstorms that have been percolating across the area. A few of those moving close to Bryan College Station as well earlier this evening, and those continue to work back toward the west. These will be dying down after sunset as we're going to be seeing that rain again in a very spotty fashion here over the next couple of afternoons. And then things will die down by Saturday before maybe picking up as we head toward the beginning of next week. Higher concentration of rain has been down toward the southeast and then out into Mexico and into parts of Arizona as well. So here's what our future track looks like. As we head to 10 o'clock, things really quieting down as we lose the daytime energy. Then we're going to build it back up again on Friday. A few clouds in the morning. Isolated to widely scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. About a 20 to 30% chance you'll get wet on your Friday. And then as we head into Saturday, it looks like things calm down as we may see a less than 20% chance of an isolated storm. I think most of us will be dry on Saturday, and that is going to continue for most of Sunday as well. But late Sunday going into Monday, that's when we may see some changes in our area. And looking at our temperatures tonight, how about 77 for Bryan College Station, 75 Caldwell, Madisonville at 75, same for Franklin, and Hearn at 77 in the morning. Then high temperatures tomorrow into the mid-90s, but just like today, it's going to feel like it's well over 100 when you factor in the humidity. So make sure you're staying hydrated out there. Take those frequent cooling breaks as we will be flirting with heat advisory criteria around here as that humidity remains very high. 96 Friday, 97 on Saturday into Sunday at 97 degrees. And look at Monday, 40% chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms could linger into Tuesday as well with a weak frontal boundary in the area. It's not going to cool us off a lot, but it will make a little bit of a difference with highs into the low to mid 90s with those scattered showers and thunderstorms. Then we may continue with at least isolated to widely scattered thunderstorms Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as we head through next week.
You get on a plane full of people and some of them aren't very happy and you just never know what's going to happen.
The Association of Flight Attendants wants to make it easier for airline workers to get training to protect themselves against the increasing number of unruly passengers. It says airlines should pay their employees to take these classes, and the federal government should require flight crews attend each year.
We can have that muscle memory and be able to respond when someone is immediately attacking us.
The TSA reopened self-defense training late last month, but the agency says so far, only a few hundred people have enrolled in this course. Now, we got an inside look at the first training course since they started up again, and they teach how to hit, elbow, and gouge aggressive passengers.
There's no backup at 30,000 feet. So that plane is in the air, that has a crew that has to deal with the issues, and it's incumbent on us to make sure they're fully equipped.
The most recent numbers from the FAA show there have been more than 3,600 reports of unruly passengers so far this year. More than 2,600 are reports of people refusing to wear a mask. Now, that mask requirement is currently in place until September 13th. The FAA has initiated more than 600 investigations this year into unruly behavior, and that is the most in a year in decades. The Small Business Administration is launching a portal for business owners to apply for PPP forgiveness. Owners who borrowed $150,000 or less can apply for forgiveness directly through the SBA. Applications will be accepted starting August 4th, and borrowers can call the number that you see on your screen for help. That number, 877-552-2692. Borrowers can also visit directforgiveness.sba.gov. Now, there is a new push to cap interest rates for loans. A group of senators introduced the Veterans and Consumers Fair Credit Act. Now, it would cap annual percentage rates at 36%, and it would not affect state rules that have a lower cap limit. President Biden will allow the eviction moratorium to expire this Saturday, but is calling on Congress to extend it. He argues that his hands are tied after the Supreme Court ruled that it could only be extended until the end of July. Now, meanwhile, the National Apartment Association is suing the Court of Federal Claims on behalf of landlords. The association says that rental housing providers have suffered economic losses under this moratorium, and the lawsuit claims that landlords are stuck with more than $26 billion worth of debt. U.S. pole vaulter and reigning world champion Sam Kendricks is out of the Olympics after testing positive for COVID. The story starts the newsfeed. The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee says he is now in isolation at a hotel. The track and field competition starts tomorrow. Now, this comes as Tokyo reports record-breaking COVID cases for the third straight day. The city reported nearly 3,900 new cases today. The FDA is letting the troubled COVID vaccine factory where the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was being made resume production. The agency shut down the Baltimore facility in April because of contamination issues, and that forced the company to import millions of doses to the U.S. from its factory in the Netherlands instead and miss supply commitments. AstraZeneca says it will be asking for U.S. authorization for its COVID-19 vaccine in the second half of the year. Now, this is later than originally expected. So far this year, AstraZeneca has delivered more than 700 million doses of its vaccine to more than 170 countries. Cyber sickness is becoming more common as more people use VR headsets. And now researchers are starting to learn more about it. Cyber sickness is similar to motion sickness. People usually feel nausea, disorientation, and visual fatigue. Experts say about half of users who use VR headsets experience it.
These have to deal with how the human eyes focus, the divergence accommodation conflict, or the mismatch between where the user eyes are focusing in real life versus where they are inside of a headset.
Up until now, researchers didn't have much information about cyber sickness, but now they've started using EEG technology. It detects electrical activity in the brain through electrodes attached to the head. Before EEG, the only way researchers could gather information about cyber sickness was through diaries that patients wrote in.
If you reduce the field of view, people tend to perceive less cyber sickness than if you have a wide field of view. However, the wider the field of view, the more immersive you feel, the more sense of presence you feel in a virtual environment.
Experts say this research is important as more people start using VR technology. Concerns about drought and water supply are forcing cities to take first-of-their-kind measures. We're looking at the impact a moratorium on new construction connected to the water supply could have. There are growing concerns about the drought and the water supply in the West. This week, water levels at Lake Powell, the nation's second largest reservoir, hit a record low. The Great Salt Lake also hit new historic lows in recent weeks, and Lake Mead, which is the nation's largest reservoir, has also seen low water levels. Now, that has one town about an hour from Salt Lake City taking some extreme measures. Oakley, Utah currently has a new moratorium on all new homes that would connect to the town's water supply. Now, it's one of the first cities in the country to do this. Now, the city says it doesn't anticipate having additional water supply until next year, but this is a plan to stall development that is not without its critics.
It's extremely common for people to say, you know, this is going to send a bad message that we don't have access to sufficient water supplies. It'll affect our economy.
Now, Catherine Jacobs directs the University of Arizona's Climate Adaptation Research Center. Years ago, she helped build the program in the state that requires people in certain zones prove they have a 100-year water supply to build new homes. Now, it was one of the first and most highly regulated approaches to this problem.
Each state has really different water laws and very different physical access to water supplies. And so there is really no one-size-fits-all solution, but it is not a bad idea at all to be required to use renewable water supplies for new development.
Now, she says that Arizona's program has proven to be effective in incentivizing the use of renewable water supplies, but it's not as dramatic as the change in Oakley, Utah. Other places like California are trying less drastic measures, with the governor asking everyone to voluntarily cut their water use by 15%. Now, a single shot is showing promising signs for treating PTSD.
In real time, I actually felt like every muscle in my body just relaxed simultaneously.
The roadblocks some are facing when it comes to who pays for this treatment.
Welcome back, everyone. Team USA earning more gold medals in Tokyo overnight. Meanwhile, another athlete from the U.S. is out after testing positive for COVID. Jim Ryan is in Tokyo, as always, with the latest.
It's a gold medal for Sunisa Lee in the women's gymnastics individual all-around, the 5th American woman in a row to win that title.
I was starting to put a little bit too much pressure on myself knowing that Simone was gone. So I just stayed focused and I just try not to think about winning a medal or anything like that, because either way I would have been proud of myself for competing here.
Teammate Simone Biles had been the favorite to win the gold but withdrew from today's competition, citing mental health concerns. Biles tweeted, "The outpouring of love and support I've received has made me realize I'm more than my accomplishments and gymnastics, which I never truly believed before." More gold for the U.S., this time in the pool. Caleb Dressel in the men's 100-meter freestyle won by less than 1 second and set a new Olympic record for the race. In the men's 800-meter freestyle, which made its debut at this year's Olympics, Bobby Fink surged from behind and also won the gold. For the women, a silver medal in the 4x200-meter freestyle relay. Katie Ledecky missed the gold by just 0.4 of a second. And in diving, the U.S. won silver in men's synchronized 3-meter springboard. But COVID continues to loom large over these delayed 2020 Olympics. More than 3,800 new cases were reported in Tokyo on Thursday. There have been a total of 198 cases at the Olympics, including American pole vaulter Sam Kendricks, who's now out of the competition after testing positive. Preliminary events in track and field are set to begin Friday morning in Japan. Jim Ryan, ABC News at the Summer Olympics in Tokyo.
Here's a look at the current medal count, folks. Host country Japan with 15 golds, tying China for the most golds. Team USA with 38 total medals so far, 14 golds, who are one behind. The competition continuing today in Tokyo.
The more people that know about this, the better, because it's helping a lot of people.
People suffering from PTSD are finding relief with a single shot in the neck. Doctors are working to make the treatment accessible to every American after it started gaining traction in the military. Amanda Brandeis takes a closer look into how it works.
Hey everybody, Chris here. Made it to the top of Mount Charleston today from the...
When Chris Jackomick enlisted in the Air Force, his why for joining was a work in progress.
The recruiter gave a nice good pitch, and there I was, stayed at home during the summer and shipped off in September of 1999.
The start of a 20-year career.
There's the moment that you enlist or you get commissioned into the military, and then there's the moment that you actually join the military. Like it becomes weaved into the fabric of your soul.
But 2 decades of service caused wear and tear on his body and mind.
Military members will compartmentalize it because of the stigma of military members don't cry. Let's get the mission done. And I was one of them.
While he served in Afghanistan, much of his trauma was closer to home.
In 2017, my brother, a Marine himself, would die by suicide. And that really kind of wore the fabric out of it.
This is the ascent for Adam. He would have loved climbing with me today here on his on the day that we lost him, but this is for him.
It was go, 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 and it really wasn't a time to step back and test some of the mental anguish that I was going through, the trauma.
Within 6 months, he'd also lose 2 comrades to suicide.
I was really emotionless, and especially, towards my children sometimes.
Immense trauma can send our fight or flight response into constant overdrive, disrupting sleep, causing overwhelming panic, anger, chronic anxiety, nightmares, or flashbacks.
There's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You have to find what works for you.
While Jackomick self-medicated with alcohol, he sought help in the military.
One that really was a game changer for me was called the Stella Ganglion block.
Also known as SGB treatment. Stella Center, one of the nation's largest providers, shared this video. Doctors inject local anesthesia near a nerve in the neck, resetting the fight or flight response.
The procedure itself helps to take away those symptoms and make a person able to function normally.
Dr. John Howe says it's been used for nearly 100 years to treat pain. Now a promising treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder, studies show 80% of patients find relief after 1 session.
This is not a cure-all. It does help quite a bit with a lot of people, and it has made it so that many people have been able to stop taking their medicines.
He's part of the Stella Center's network of doctors. With locations across the country, more than 50% of people are within driving distance to a treatment center.
It's something that really affects my community. For frontline healthcare workers and first responders, I found something that can help.
In real time, I actually felt like every muscle in my body just relaxed simultaneously.
Jacomick is in alcohol recovery and no longer takes medication for post-traumatic stress.
My mindset has changed. I live more in an empathetic area of gratitude.
And through the trauma, he found a why, creating an organization to support those who've lost loved ones to suicide.
If this unlocks something for somebody else and allows somebody to heal, then these words are absolutely worth it.
I'm Amanda Brandeis reporting.
All right, Amanda, thank you. Now, insurance usually covers the injection for patients when it's treating pain, but doesn't usually cover the same procedure when it's for PTSD. Out of pocket, the treatment costs between $1,000 to $3,000. Most people need one treatment. Stella centers aren't the only ones offering this. Family physicians can help patients get connected with a medical professional who does this treatment. Now, we are seeing an increase in deaths not connected to COVID. The other factors during the pandemic that may be causing this.
And here's Matt with another look at our forecast.
And as we take a look at what we are expecting, any isolated showers and thunderstorms will be dying out as we head into the evening hours tonight. So some of us have seen a nice little shower out there while others have missed out altogether. But it looks like that we may have another chance on Friday. 6 o'clock in the morning, not much happening. But as we get into the afternoon, isolated to widely scattered showers and thunderstorms will be possible once again. Maybe if you didn't see anything today, you'll get it tomorrow. It's only a 20 to 30% chance, but at least it's a little something. Then as we push into Saturday, a few clouds around in the morning, probably not much happening Saturday afternoons. Looking hot and humid for us to start off the weekend, and there's only a slight chance for a few thunderstorms as we make our way into Sunday. So tonight, temperatures will be dipping down into the 70s for us. We'll go 77 in Bryan College Station and Hearn, 75 in Anderson, and 75 in Navasota. Then tomorrow, highs will be in the mid-90s, but it'll feel like it's a lot warmer than that when you factor in the humidity during the afternoon hours, feeling like it's over 100 degrees. And looking at your 10-day forecast, 96 on Friday, 97 on Saturday. Isolated thunderstorms possible again Friday and again Sunday afternoon, but I think better chances arrive Monday into Tuesday with highs into the low to mid-90s, a chance for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. And then we may even continue with at least widely scattered thunderstorms for the rest of next week, with highs staying below normal in the low to mid-90s.
Checking the news feed, LinkedIn is allowing its employees to decide on their own if they want to work permanently from home. Now, the company created a hybrid work plan that allows workers to decide how often they want to come into the office, if at all. LinkedIn says it doesn't have a specific return date. Google and Facebook will require employees to be vaccinated when they return to the office. Google hasn't said how it'll enforce the policy. Facebook says it's putting a plan together for people who can't be vaccinated for certain reasons. Starting tomorrow, face masks will be required at Disney World for anyone 2 years or older while indoors, regardless of vaccination status. According to the CDC, the entire state of Florida is considered a hotspot. Some 13 million Americans across this country live in flood zones, be it by the ocean, a river, or just a small stream. I'm Chris Conti, and coming up tomorrow, we'll show you some big changes coming to FEMA's flood insurance program that could mean a drop in rates for homeowners. All right, Chris, thank you. And still to come today, advocates say the airline industry isn't doing enough to accommodate people with disabilities.
They have to physically pick you up and put you into their airline chair. And it's just, Phil just doesn't want to go through that. You know, it's kind of humiliating.
The changes she and other families want to see on new planes. Buses, trains, and other modes of public transportation have to follow the Americans with Disabilities Act, which requires that people using wheelchairs can get around. But the airline industry doesn't have to follow those rules. They're able to follow an older law. It's called the Air Carrier Access Act of 1986. Now, even though the act has been updated since 1986, many say it still doesn't do enough to accommodate people with disabilities. Alexa Liaco spoke with one family who is hoping planes will soon have a place where people can stay in their wheelchairs for the flight.
Because this is probably his favorite one.
because he got it right in at 16.
Lieutenant Colonel Phil Price served in the Air Force his entire career.
It was a good assignment.
He traveled the world for decades, his flying days grounded by his body.
Phil was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he had already been priorly diagnosed with MS.
Eventually, his brain tumor and MS forced him into a wheelchair.
It was advised that we don't treat the MS due to that was the theory, what was keeping his brain tumor at bay. He did not take any treatment. So the MS has slowly, over time, that's what's kind of ravaging the body now.
But his body has some reinforcements.
It allows him to change positions to help him breathe better. Okay, sit back, sit back.
A custom wheelchair gives him the ability to move and to travel by car.
So the VA provides it, but it's about a $25,000 to $30,000 chair. So you're not talking about, something that can be easily replaceable.
Because of that, it's forced the man who used to fly for work to make a tough choice.
We've chosen not to fly because of the risk of damaging the chair. We get off the plane and the chair's damaged. There's nothing we can do about it at that point. I can't carry him. He can't walk. He can't transfer. So we would be stuck.
The chair is one worry. Physical safety is another.
They have to physically pick you up and put you into their airline chair. And it's just, Phil just doesn't want to go through that. It's kind of humiliating. It's embarrassing. So I'm kind of speaking for you.
It's all true.
And the Price family isn't the only family that's made this decision. 80% of people who use wheelchairs don't come here because it's just so difficult to travel. One of the biggest problems is when families come with baggage claim their wheelchair may be damaged, and airlines are reporting damaging thousands of chairs every single year. But it's not just that, it's also accessibility on the airplane itself.
Many people think that the ADA covers air travel, and it doesn't. So that's why there isn't a wheelchair spot on airplanes.
Michelle Irwin and Alan Cholet are part of All Wheels Up, a group working to get a wheelchair spot like this one installed on all new airplanes and usable bathrooms for wheelchair users.
Some people with disabilities, they don't drink water the whole day. They travel. They don't eat food just to prepare their bodies for that.
But changing that could help those in wheelchairs feel less isolated.
It's sad because, I missed my sister's wedding.
It'd be nice to be able to go and have that freedom, not feel trapped.
Irwin says more accessible planes could save airlines money.
One airline in 2016 spent $1.6 million on wheelchair repairs and replacements.
All Wheels Up says a wheelchair spot like this one could cut those costs and open the door to thousands of new airline customers.
Because now that family, instead of driving to their destination, is now going to have that opportunity, which they never had before, to fly.
Bottom line aside, it's equity families and advocates alike want to see.
It's all about him feeling comfortable, him feeling like a human, like everyone else, not feeling different. It doesn't take just the disabled people in the world to speak up to say we need better changes on the airline industry. It takes everyday normal people to speak up.
For Phil, it would mean a trip to see his daughter living in Atlanta or somewhere just for fun.
New York or somewhere.
New York? Oh my, okay, you're going big.
And even though the day he will fly again seems far away, he has hope he will see the world from the air once again.
You gotta have hope.
Yes, you do have to have hope.
I'm Alexa Liaco.
Inflation will continue to hit us at the grocery store. It's a story that tops the news feed. Nestle, the world's largest food and drink company, says it is raising prices again this year by about 2%. For now, Starbucks says it's able to avoid raising prices on coffee. Prices have steadily gone up because of recent weather-related crop supply shortages. Starbucks said it was able to lock in cheaper prices on a larger supply prior to these crop issues. New competition on the insulin market could help drive down prices. Now, the FDA just approved Semglee as the first generic version of insulin without insurance. Semglee pens cost less than half the price of the comparable brand name versions. More than 600,000 people have died from COVID in the United States. While those deaths were a direct impact from the virus, Researchers are now starting to look at other deaths where COVID wasn't the cause, but the pandemic may have played a role. Maya Rodriguez looked into the findings.
Americans continue to contract COVID-19.
We can't say anymore, well, it's the old people who are going to die. It's young people now who are coming in very sick.
But there is another group that researchers are just now beginning to look at. Deaths not related to the virus.
In other words, COVID was not on their death certificate.
Sheldon Jacobson is a professor at the University of Illinois. He and a team analyzed all of the U.S. deaths that occurred in 2020 during the 9-month period when no COVID vaccine was available yet. They found deaths not caused by COVID rose by 40%, but it goes deeper than that. For people ages 15 to 24, compared to the previous 5 years, there was an 18% increase. That's 42,000 more deaths not related to COVID. Most of the impact felt by men, who made up 3/4 of the deaths in that age group.
Men have been harder hit than women during this pandemic, especially in excess deaths not related to COVID.
But why? Researchers are still awaiting the release of more 2020 data from the CDC for analysis, but there are some theories.
There was a recent report that there was a 30% increase in opioid overdoses from last year, yet COVID-19 is not directly associated with that, although it could have indirectly precipitated it.
While the number of deaths not directly linked to COVID increased for some age groups, it decreased for another, young children. For children 4 and under, compared to the past 5 years, there was a decrease in the number of deaths during the pandemic not related to COVID, 2,000 fewer. Why?
Because of the societal changes, more people staying at home, less opportunities for accidents, either in vehicles, swimming accidents, drownings, which are very common for this age group, we did not see these deaths occur. So in some sense, the environment made it protective.
But researchers say there is one thing that the data showed overall.
The hidden message from this analysis is that vaccination is so important. And you may say, why is that true? And the reason is that the vaccines provide the most reliable approach to reduce the hospitalization and fatality risks. We can get back to a society that we had pre-pandemic, and all of these excess deaths should go away.
A post-COVID society the world has yet to reach. I'm Maya Rodriguez.
Thanks for being with us tonight at 6. Be sure to tune in to our next broadcast tonight at 10. Until then, have a great